Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash. I was going to say Flash Season 6, but I guess it relates to The Flash Season 6, but mainly 7, so yeah. So we are in the final week of The Flash Season 6 with its content, I guess, with the finale, I said that weird, with the finale for the season airing in just under a week from now, like 5 days or something. And even though it isn't the finale we were meant to get, because it's actually episode 19, from what we're seeing in the promo material, whether that be, the trailers or just the general photos that we get, this episode will be a decent enough fill-in finale, if you want to call it, with Mirror Master's plan seeming to play out for the most part, especially when you look at the promo images. And knowing the Flash, there will most likely be some sort of dramatic consequences and events that play out due to it. So even though I don't think it's going to be what we should have got and what we maybe deserve to get, with the things going around the world, that's what's happening. But of course we are getting the makeshift finale due to a my corona that is going on around the world at this stage and at this point in time, even though it is easing up a decent amount, which will, as you should easily be able to tell from just the topic of this video, will play a part in this video. Now, pretty much all productions were shut down around the middle of March. I think it was smack bang in the middle of March, to be completely honest. Some kept going, a few kept going for a week or so, and that was just to finish up. But the majority of film and TV productions suspended production in the middle of March for obvious health and safety reasons. They weren't forced to. It wasn't a law, but it was safe to, just to close and stuff, so they did that to be safe. So it has been just over a month and a half since that happened. But most, especially with TV, have just ended their seasons there and will just come back and start their next seasons when allowed. So whether they're on season 2, they'll start with season 3, or in the Flash's case, they're on season 6, but they're just going to scrap it and start with season 7. Now, an article did come out from comicbook.com, which went over some details presented from the government of British Columbia, which is where Vancouver is situated, which is the home to the large majority of the DC TV shows and the Arrowverse shows, as well as a plethora of other TV shows and movies. Now, the easiest way to go over this and just go about it is just to go over the article as it is and have a bit of a talk about it, as it really does hint as to when season 7 of The Flash and the other shows in Vancouver and movies as well could begin filming. So as per usual, it will be linked in the description down below. So yeah, let's just go over it. As municipalities, that's the way I'm pronouncing it, around the world begin the process of reopening their economies following shutdowns caused by the novel coronavirus pandemic, British Columbia has announced a plan that could see TV and film production return to the city by the middle of the summer, provided COVID-19 transmission rates remain low. The provincial government today announced plans to gradually return to normal amid the pandemic, beginning with smaller gatherings, 6 or fewer, being allowed starting this weekend and parks being open beginning on May 14th, as they begin the process of gradually reopening. British Columbia still says that there are no clear plans for when large crowd gatherings like sporting events and concerts might resume. The plan, at least as it stands now, puts TV and film production on a schedule that could see a return to action right around the time the Greg Berlanti produced Arrowverse shows on the CW usually begin filming their new seasons in July. While Comic-Con International in San Diego has been cancelled for 2020, F's in the chat, its mid-July date usually came just after a week or so of filming on shows like The Flash and Supergirl, allowing the network to show limited sizzle reels and make some announcements during Comic-Con panels. Last week, a story came out that outlined some of the precautions Berlanti and other producers are planning on taking when filming is allowed to resume, including reworking love scenes, fight scenes, and other sequences that involve close physical contact. While some TV shows might be able to get away with telling their stories while characters wear protective masks and mirroring the real world, the shared DC Comics Arrowverse would present a problem there, in that the scientific minds on The Flash ought to be able to cure a respiratory virus pretty quick, and replacing COVID-19 with something else in the script would run the risk of trivializing the pandemic, so you want to avoid that. The season finales for many of the CW shows, including Charmed and The Flash, are coming earlier than expected after production had to be halted in mid-March, weeks or even days away from the end of production on several series, including the 15-year veteran Supernatural. Pilots like Walker, Texas Ranger, and Superman and Lois would have gone into production in March to be screened for media and investors at May upfronts, but never got in front of the cameras before the pandemic cleared production schedules. So yeah, let's have a bit of a chat about this. So the first thing I do want to bring up is where I am. I'm in Australia, and things are pretty much going back to normal. On the day this video should go up, there's meant to be an announcement where they're pretty much going to be lowering restrictions, where I think some things are going to start opening, like restaurants and stuff. But honestly, if I walked out my door, walked down the street, or even drove 5 minutes, I wouldn't be able to notice the difference between, Corona time and Christmas last year. It would look exactly the same. There's really no difference in Australia, but then again, our numbers are really low because, well, I guess we jumped on it early, I guess. But even things like conventions in Australia, like Comic-Con sort of things, are going ahead in August. Like, they're organizing them. They've been given the okay to promote them, sell tickets, everything like that. They've added guest stars, like some of the Smallville people and stuff are coming to, like, plan to come to Australia and stuff. Obviously, it's subject to change, but they've been given the permission to do that. But even then, like, TV shows in Australia, some in Europe, and in Asia are able to go back and film. They've started filming now. So filming is resuming in different parts. And I think in Atlanta, in America, at like the Tyler Perry studios, they're filming their shows now as well. So there is filming going on. It's not like it's dead completely. It's happening in certain places. It is important to remember that the lockdown sort of happened to keep the hospital numbers down. It wasn't to avoid the spread. There's like false information there. Wasn't necessarily to avoid the spread. Partly that, but that in turn was just to keep the hospital numbers down because, well, there's not enough space. Because you can't avoid the spread unless there's a vaccine, which doesn't exist. So that's a while away. But anyway, let's not talk medicine because I'm not Dr. Pagey. I am, well, just Pagey, I guess. Now, the big thing with this is, what should we expect? Should we expect the usual, like, mid-July start or middle of summer start that we usually get? They usually start, like, beginning of the second week, I think, of July is usually when they go back to film, or around that mid-July, and then Comic-Cons in, like, that second to last weekend of July, and that's when they'll show the trailer. But they, like, finish filming, they come down, they show that sizzle reel with whatever content they can or footage they can, then they go back and start filming again. So there's about a week of worth of filming in that little sizzle reel. So yeah, they start around that mid-July or late of the, like, end of the first week or whatever you want to call it. But can we expect them to start around that date? And I guess the thing is, maybe, if things go well, which they are, at the moment they are going fairly decent unless you're in like New York and stuff like that, but everywhere else it's pretty sweet. Like, nothing's really like escalating too quickly. But I personally would be leaning more towards a really late July start. Like, I'm talking like really late, pretty much around the time of Comic-Con or even after that. Or the most likely time being somewhere in August. Maybe not really late August, but somewhere in that middle of August. So pretty much maybe like a month later than they normally would start filming. Now, I have seen people asking me and just other people whether that means there will be less episodes in the season. So at this point, we're a 22 episode season. That's what we go with The Flash. But is there a possibility we go down to a 20 or even like a 16 episode season? Does that happen? And also, along with that, does that also mean like a later start date? So usually it starts in October on TV. But does that mean it might not start till November or something like that? And no, not really. If they do start filming like anywhere in August, even if it's early or even late, they will still be able to make the early October start date we usually have for the seasons. It is important to remember that they wrap the filming of the finale for The Flash usually in the first or second week of April, but then that same finale episode they filmed will air on TV just over a month later in May. And usually those episodes are very heavy with visual effects and stuff. Editing an episode is probably one of the easy things to get done, I would say, in regards to time, but like sound and VFX are the things that can take a bit or just have issues arise due to them. But because of the limitations that will be presented with filming, which means like limited outdoor scenes, sound shouldn't actually be too much of an issue there. And you could argue even VFX because you don't have to deal with like sunlight potentially. So yeah, I would say any time in August in regards to a start date should be fine, especially if they don't do a crossover like they usually would, which wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, to be completely honest. In the first half of the season at least. They could do stuff in the second half, but if they are going to do any type of crossovers, as I've said in like previous videos, I think just after this stuff started happening, it wouldn't surprise me they just did like 2-show crossovers. So the Flash will crossover with Supergirl or Stargirl or Black Lightning, Supergirl with Batwoman or Superman and Lois, and various mixes and matches. I could see them doing that because that's much easier to film obviously than a big crisis related thing or Elseworlds. Much easier in regards to time, so I can see them doing that instead. But another question to bring up, and I think I'd be naive to just ignore it, and that is, what is the worst possible outcome with all of this? And I think the worst possible outcome is probably an October start date for filming, whether that's early or late, just anywhere in October, which would mean no episodes would start airing until late January or early February, because those are the dates usually when shows come back or premiere mid-season. But that would be an absolute killer, not just for the CW network because they don't have new stuff to show, but so many people would be out of work and without a proper income. I'd be shocked if they closed that sector. And I know there's like Greg Berlanti and Berlanti Productions themselves that invested like a lot of money in regards to paying out of work employees across various shows. Like I think it was like over $500,000. Actually, I think it was actually more like approaching $1 million, which is obviously a lot of money is going to help them out. But even for that long period of time, that's crazy. I'd be shocked if they just closed that sector for that long, which is huge in certain cities like Vancouver, obviously Los Angeles, Atlanta, Toronto, and various other cities, like even like Chicago as well, I think. So it'd be a big surprise if it was closed for that long. And the thing is like, you know, like the whole thing is that you're waiting on a vaccine. That's just not going to happen for a while. You can't hold off on that. Sorry. It's about really just sort of reducing the first impact of the numbers. That's pretty much what like Australia's done, and easing back off from that. But yeah, obviously health and safety comes first, but also I think if you're allowing someone to wither away without any sort of proper income, I think that's just as bad. So I think they'll eventually get back to work. I think it'll be in like July or August, but it will be with those maybe not strict, but definitely with those regulations in regards to filming that'll just make it safer and just make it a safe workplace. So I think that's me being optimistic. I'm trying to be a pessimist like I've seen elsewhere, but yeah, maybe that's just me. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. I don't know how you can enjoy it, but if you were informed in this video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show your support. And I guess the knowledge gained in your brains. Let me know your various opinions in the comment section down below. Do you see it starting in July or August? Like, that's the rough date I'd give. Or do you see it getting delayed longer, like around that October date? Do you see that happening? Or even they won't start filming till next year, which I think is insanity. But let me know if you agree with that, and that's where you think it's going to happen. And yeah, just leave any other thoughts, opinions, and stuff like that in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.